Hey, I'm Alex Macklin from Board Game Co., and this is your month in review for June of 2024. We're going to be diving through a bunch of things as we usually do in these videos, from my board game stats to my favorite videos I watched this past month from other creators, my favorite and my best new games of the month, my disappointments of the month, my favorite videos of the month from my own channel, crowdfunding highlights, best crowdfunding games, whatever, and then the general highlights of the month, of which we only have 3 in that category, but we'll get into that more later. But we'll have links and timestamps to everything down below. Let's go ahead and start off with my board game stats. And I should say before we dive into this, on a typical month, I guesstimate that I log 85 to 90% of my plays. I always know that I miss some because every once in a while I'll go log my 4th play of a game, only to find out that it's my 1st play of the game according to the app. And so I know that on a regular basis I play a lot of games, I get to most, not to all of them. I guesstimate 85 to 90%. But this month, if I have to guess, I'd say it's closer to like 50, maybe 60%. With moving and everything, it's been crazy. There were like a whole 2 weeks went by where I didn't log a thing, and then I tried to recall the past 2 weeks of games, so it is what it is. But with that, what I do have, we have currently 89 plays for the month of June, which normally I'd feel bad for being under 100, but again, I'm 99% sure I'm over 100. We have 46 unique games, and 35 of which are new to me. So 35 of the 46 games I played this month are new to me. And again, this does go a little bit to the recollection aspect, where it's a little easier to remember the new stuff I played, as opposed to going back and playing that older title that I happened to pull off the shelf. It's a little harder. So I think the ratio is not as bad, but nonetheless, it is what it is. That said, as far as the games, I didn't really cover my H-index, I forgot to take a note there. But as far as the games I played the most over here, the games I played the most this past month, we have Taco Cat, Goat Cheese Pizza with 5 plays. We have Brink from Ivy Studios with 5 plays. We have 10 Days in the USA with 6 plays, Steal the Bacon with 7 plays, and Things and Rings from All Play with 11 plays this past month. Has gotten a lot of play this past month. As far as my favorite videos of the month, the favorite videos I watched on other channels, we have solo mode reviews from Mike Delisio over the Dice Tower. He did a roundup of a bunch of solo reviews. There was Nova Roma from Stan Kodonsky. There were a few others I'm not remembering offhand, but he did a bunch of solo reviews from games, which I think is always a good thing, because there are solo games which get coverage, and then there are multiplayer games which get coverage, but solo reviews of multiplayer games are a harder thing to find as frequently. And so having a roundup of them, I think, is a good thing in general, especially if you're coming at a game. If you want to know if it's worth it for the solo mode, those kinds of videos are incredibly helpful. There were top 10 underrated games. This is from Easy Board Games. He had a bunch of underrated games, including some that are relevant for you. There was one, what was the one that's on crowdfunding right now? Oh, Tsukimi New Full Moon Down. That's currently on crowdfunding. He has that as list. He also had March of the Ants, which I believe is coming back at some point in the future with a new version of it. And there's also DEI, a personal favorite of mine, all amongst a bunch of other games if you want to check out his underrated games. So again, I always appreciate videos like that because they really shine a spotlight on not the games that everyone is talking about all the time, but rather the games that are potentially awesome, but not as commonly well known. There was my top 100 games of all time from the Board Game Garden. Jenna from the Board Game Garden started doing her top 100. I'm only halfway through this video, so I don't even know the full list yet, but she's finally doing a top 100 list. She's joining the various creators who like to do those. If you want to go ahead and check out her series, you can go ahead and do that. Coming at number 2, we had Tom Vassell with Am I Professional Reviewer. I've noticed that Tom, over the past, 6 months, 3 months, some amount of time, he started doing more consistent conversational topics, and I genuinely appreciate them. I think that they're very well done, very well presented. They're short enough to be, to the point, but long enough to have enough depth going on in the games. But he kind of covered how he kind of gets it from both sides, and depending on the conversation, he's either not professional enough, or he's too professional. It is a job, it's a hobby, all of that, but he goes into it a bit more, and I think it's a very entertaining video to watch. Informational video to watch. And then lastly, there's Monopoly's Dirty Secrets from Extra Credits. So we've talked about their channel in the past. They tend to cover a lot of video game stuff, but they occasionally dabble on the board game side of things. Monopoly's Dirty Secrets, I think that there's a lot of commonly known information in there, but I don't know how common. Like maybe 15% of you already know all of these things or a lot of the things in the video, but it goes into the history of Monopoly, which I think is a fascinating conversation. If you don't already know it, you should definitely check it out. And if you do already know it, this is a very well presented version of it. As far as the best new games of the month. So, we have a few over here. As usual, I bring 5 to the table in most of these categories of things, but coming in at number 5, we have Charcuterie. Charcuterie from 3WS Games. I enjoyed this one. I didn't do a full review on it yet, and I will be doing a full review, but it's a fun little light set collection that really leans nicely into the theme. I would say gameplay-wise alone, it doesn't stand out as much amongst other games that have set collection, point scoring, and all that. It's good, but it's not necessarily great. Where it does shine is it leans into the theme and really incorporates that into a gameplay. I think they did a fantastic job of the incorporation of theme mechanics on this. We have Nunatech from Cosmos over here. I will have a full review on this or already do, depending. But Nunatech is a building up game. You're building up a ice pyramid, ice sculpture, trying to gather cards for variable scoring. Has a little similarity to, oh my gosh, Nidavellir. Has a little similarity to Nidavellir if you've played that one in terms of the way you're going to be scoring, but very different in terms of the way the board plays out. I don't know if it's a forever game for me, but it's very much a I enjoy right now game for me. There's also Mindspace from All Play. Another new game to me this month. I really enjoyed Mindspace. It's kind of leans into cartographer's vibes with drawing little polyomino shapes onto your board. But I think they did a good job at making it entertaining, engaging. Again, don't know if it's a forever game. Lighter games are always harder, although games like Things and Rings, which we'll talk about soon, that may well be a forever game for me. Or forever is a loose term. To me, a forever game is anything that lasts 5 years or more. That's like a long time. Versus Mindspace, I don't know. It might be here for a year, it might be here for 3 years. I don't really know. I mean, Mountain Goat Small Play is still here, and it's not one I would necessarily thought would still be here. And then lastly, we have Brink. My number one new game this month is going to be Brink. And if you're wondering about Things and Rings, I played this last month or 2 months ago or 3 months. I played it in March of 2024. But anyways, Brink from Ivy Games is going to be my favorite new game of the month. It's my second 5 out of 5 I've given this year, the other one being Things and Rings. And it's a delightful game. I really enjoy it. I think they did a fantastic job with it. It is probably still below Mythic Mischief for me, although more time with it will determine that. But I think it's a very solid game. I like it a lot. With that, we're going to go into the category of my disappointments of the month. I only have 2 disappointments this month, and ironically, they're both racing games, although for drastically different reasons. There's going to be Turbo Kids as well as Reality Shift. Both racing games, both from different publishers. I will have coverage on both of them. I think the Reality Shift is going to be a dedicated review, and Turbo Kids might be a roundup review. But Turbo Kids, I think, is the better game, but arguably my bigger I'm not sure. Either way, Turbo Kids is a game from Hachette. It's falling into the Zombie Kids universe, but without the zombies. It's a racing game where one player is holding on their, you're holding onto the thumb like a joystick, and you're guiding them while they have a blindfold on, and they're drawing around the map. So you can turn and shift and adjust, and you're trying to effectively guide them while you're drawing, which is a very fun concept. The problem is the ages on the box I don't think work at all. I think the game is a very cool concept. It's very cute. My kids have had fun with it to a degree, but my younger kids can't play it at all, and my older kids are doing terribly at it. And this is one of those things where maybe it's just a skill set my kids have in terms of board games versus video games, but I think this is a fun game almost for adults. It doesn't feel like a kid's game. It feels way too hard to be a kid's game, although that might change as they continue to dive into and play it more, so we'll see. But for right now, I was expecting this fun game to pull out and play with my kids, and it was a game that I think has a lot of laughs in it, but way too hard for kids in the age range presented on the box. And then there's Reality Shift, which was a fun game in theory, but ultimately resulted in a lot of just crushing your opponents every 2 seconds until eventually someone gets a combination that allows them to win. It kind of felt more luck-driven than tactically driven because it's so easy to kill your opponents in a way that makes the entire experience a little more frustrating, even though it's visually cool on the tabletop itself. As far as my favorite videos of the month on my channel, for my favorite videos, we have top 10 games I'd rather play solo. This is a video covering, well, a bunch of games that in theory are rated at best at higher player counts, but I personally prefer playing these games solo, and I went into why. One aspect of it that I touched upon in the video in a bunch of these games is the fact that alpha player being a thing. I am somebody who tends to try to drift towards being an alpha player. That's my tendencies. Now, I try to hold back as much as possible, and I think I do a fairly good job, although film playthroughs are a little harder because I'm always focused on trying to keep the camera moving and keep the game moving while the camera's rolling. And so there's a bit of a question there, but I definitely have that tendency. And so some of these games are games that I think are better for me playing solo because of those tendencies. There's also going to be the top 10 chill games, which is a video of the top 10 games to relax or chill, the games like Parks or Tranquility. There are a bunch of games that a lot of people agreed with, as well as a bunch of games in there that people did not agree with. They're like, that's tense and cutthroat and not a chill game for me at all, which I did very clearly warn in the video that this is definitely definitely a matter of opinion, as most of my videos are, but in some cases I double down on it because I'm like, hey, these are chill for me, they might not be for you. Games like Carcassonne and Ticket to Ride, depending on who you're playing with, they are either very chill or very, very not chill. Then there's my Things and Rings review, which, by the way, has like 700 views on it, which I don't even mind. Like, to me, it's not about how many views a video gets, but like, I think this game is so good, I wish this video got more attention. I'm putting it over here because I want this video to have more attention, because for me, when I look at my top games, there's usually a very interesting, I don't know if there's a clear overlap, but very often if people ask like what kind of games they enjoy, just based on the fact that I tend to enjoy games like Simon games or very often Awakened Realms titles or things like that, there's often like this tendency of like, oh, I enjoy these big box experiences from like massive deluxeifications and all that, or Brink is another one, so the over-the-top deluxeifications. And sometimes that's true, but other times I love games like Things and Rings, like So Clover, like Codenames. There are so many small box games that really do an excellent job at what they're trying to do. And so for me, I really enjoy it when I'm able to give a 5 out of 5 to a game that is simple and elegant and not over the top, but it deserves every ounce of the score, and that's Things and Rings for me. Coming in number 2, we have a top most anticipated crowdfunding games. This is not games coming to crowdfunding, this is games delivering from crowdfunding, just going over 10 games. I'm excited to have them show up because, well, I'd like to have them show up. And then lastly, my favorite video of the month was actually an older video I pulled from the vault from like 2 years ago. I filmed it roughly 2 years ago. It's a coffee chat video of resetting your life, goals, and more. It's a video I filmed a long time ago. I want to say when I first went full time in the board game space. And, well, I mean, it's a video finally went up, and what I liked the most about the video is not even the video itself, but the fact that it clearly resonated with a lot of people in a lot of ways, because there are a lot of personal comments, and I still have to reply to some of them, a lot of personal comments about why this video was helpful or impactful, even at this point, to things going on in their life. So that alone made it like when you get a personal life story back as a result of putting out a video, it's impactful, it's meaningful, and that to me is why this is my favorite video of the month. As far as the crowdfunding highlights of the month, we don't have a lot. Oh, I guess I have 4. I think I have 4 this month. And these are all just the my favorite crowdfunding games for one reason or another. Starting off with number 4, it's going to be Mythic Battles Isfet. Now, I'm not even backing Mythic Battles Isfet, but I kind of want to after having played it again. I played the original Mythic Battles Pantheon way back in the day. I liked it-ish, but not enough to invest in the series. And honestly, I'm kind of in the same place right now. I like it, not enough to invest in the series, but I like it more than I did last time. I really saw a lot of the tactical gameplay when diving into it for the gameplay and preview that we did on the channel. I saw a lot more going on in the gameplay experience that made me kind of wish I was more into it, but I also know myself and which games I'm going to commit to, and right now it's just not going to hit the list, but I did enjoy it a lot, enough that I wanted to put it on this list. Coming in number 3 is one with an asterisk, and honestly, there should probably be another one as well. No, the other one is in the next month, so next month. But anyway, Grim Covenant from Awakened Realms is another one that I'm kind of waiting to see how this one turns out. As it stands, I liked it a lot, but had some hesitancies or qualms about it that I want to see more from it. In general, I think they do tend to put a lot of work into their games post-crowdfunding. They often send out second wave preview copies as well for people to cover, but I am interested in the final version of Grim Covenant to see where it is. The game as it was very hard, but that wasn't my biggest issue. My biggest issue with it was that I wanted the upgrades to feel more interesting as you build out your character, but if they can nail that, I think the game itself is very well done. I just want more variability from the way your characters actually play and upgrade themselves across the course of the game. Coming in number 2, we have Agamonia. Agamonia, new content for the game. This is only number 2 because, well, honestly, it's not a ton of new stuff that I care about, but as a game, I love the Agamonia system, and so I want to have I want to include it here because I'm very excited about Agamonia in general. And then number 1, we have Sky Tier Horde campaigns, and that's the one I'm most excited about because it's new content for Sky Tier Horde, a game I thoroughly enjoy and should play more often than I do, but I still enjoy it enough that I want the more content, and even the campaign mode for the game. Playing Sky Tier Horde across a sequence of 4 games, that is a manageable campaign length that adds more to the system. Like, I've really enjoyed playing through the Marvel United campaigns. I think those are an excellent campaign system that really give you a good vibe for a kind of a sense of progression while giving you accessible gameplay length. As far as my highlights of the month, I only have 3 here because highlights of the month are almost always reserved for things that aren't new to me games. Because new to me games go into the best new games of the month, not in the highlights. Highlights are older things that are, well, older games that in some way, shape, or form I'm very still happy to be playing, still talking about and all that. And this month, like I talked about already, I think I played fewer older games than I typically do. So I only have 3 that I would count to the level that I want to call a highlight. And number 3 is going to be 10 Days in the USA, which I'm still having a ton of fun playing that one with my daughter. I got that game, and then I told her she's going to love it, and then we played it, and sure enough, she continues to love it and love it. Well, at first she didn't like it, but then the more she played it, she got to get into it, and now she's absolutely obsessed with it and plays it like 15 times a week, and so I really enjoyed playing, well, maybe that's a bit much, but a lot. She plays it a lot. I've been enjoying playing that one with her a lot. Number 2 is going to be Lost Ruins of Arnak, which is always a good game. It actually, someone asked me to do a video on the best games I have that I've also played a lot. Meaning, effectively, lots of games will get a little worse or less interesting. They won't hold their interest, and that's case by case. For me, a lot of games, if you're 20 plays in, it's not the same high as when you play that game for the first 5 times. Sometimes familiarity does breed, if not contempt, but a lack of exciting and newness. And there are many games that are not in that category. There are many games where I have 50 plus plays in my belt and I love them. Lost Ruins of Arnak is very much in that category. It's going to be in that video when I eventually do that video. And then lastly, there's Things and Rings. This one over here, which again, played this for the first time in March, but I played this like 11 times this past month, and I will continuously play this one. This is such an easy game to table, very gateway friendly, but also very rewarding for those who see the patterns in the strategic deduction of where things go and how to categorize certain things without enough information, but based on similarities. If you like games like Decrypto, you should absolutely be checking this one out. This is my number 1 highlight for the month. It is still holding up for me just fine. And that is going to be your month in review for the month of June. I will see you next month with a month of review for July, but until then, and in between that, I'll also see you 60 more times in 60 other videos throughout the course of the month. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.